Hello fellow Rangers, welcome back to another video. Today we are on the very last episode of the ME262 build. Before we move on to our next aircraft, we always do the history of the aircraft, and if I can find the history of the aircraft itself, not just the type, but the Pacific aircraft, our one. And I will also be mentioning it in this video, but sadly I don't have any information regarding this. I have looked everywhere at the moment and not been able to find anything, and unfortunately sometimes that is the case. It's that you can't find any information on the aircraft in question. And as the only thing I do believe, and I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong about this, but I believe that this current aircraft may be in America right now. As one of the aircraft that was claimed, as you could say, but in Operation Paperclip. So sadly, there's no real photos of it. I found photos of it in kit form, but no real photos. So sadly, that's the way it goes. Sometimes you get lucky, you can find the actual aircraft, and then other times you just don't. And sadly, that's just the way it goes. A lot of I am aware that a lot of the information at the end of the war was at the end of World War II. I must state that a lot of it was destroyed when the Germans was either retreating. So we may never know if it may be part may have been part of Operation Paperclip. Who knows? So, right. I can do a brief history on the ME262, but that is it, sadly, fellow Rangers. So we will get on to that, and then we'll move on to one more thing before the enunciation of which aircraft is next.
The Messerschmitt Me-262, nicknamed Schwalbe, German for Swallow, in fighter versions, or Sturmvogel, Stormbird, in fighter bomber versions, is a fighter aircraft and fighter bomber that was designed and produced by the German aircraft manufacturer Messerschmitt. It was the world's first operational jet-powered fighter aircraft and one of two jet fighter aircraft types to see air-to-air combat in World War II, the other being the Heinkel He-162. The design of what would become the Me-262 started in April 1939, before World War II. It made its maiden flight on the 18th of April 1941 with a piston engine, and its first jet-powered flight on the 18th of July 1942. Progress was delayed by problems with engines, metallurgy, and interference from Luftwaffe Chief Hermann Göring and Adolf Hitler. The German leader demanded that the Me-262, conceived as a defensive interceptor, be redesigned as ground attack bomber aircraft. The aircraft became operational with the Luftwaffe in mid-1944. The Me-262 was faster and more heavily armed than any Allied fighter, including the British jet-powered Gloucester Meteor. The Allies countered by attacking the aircraft on the ground and during takeoff and landing. One of the most advanced World War II combat aircraft, the Me-262 operated as a light bomber, reconnaissance aircraft, and experimental night fighter. The Me-262 proved an effective dogfighter against Allied fighters. German pilots claimed 542 Allied aircraft were shot down, corroborated by data from the US Navy, although higher claims have sometimes been made. Note 1. The aircraft had reliability problems because of strategic materials shortages and design compromises with its Junkers Jumo 004 axial flow turbojet engines. Late war Allied attacks on fuel supplies also reduced the aircraft's readiness for combat and training sorties. Armament production within Germany was focused on more easily manufactured aircraft. Ultimately, the Me-262 had little effect on the war.
Right, fellow Rangers, yeah, the Me-262 is a pretty legendary jet fighter from World War II. One, because it was essentially the first operational in-service jet fighter that actually saw actual service. Yes, I know it's bound to be someone that's going to say, well, what about the Lost Meteor? Yes, it did happen, but it didn't really see combat, whereas the Me-262 did. It's yeah, pretty much essentially, we'll call this particular person because we can't name him because of YouTube reasons, and this is why, if you notice, it says blur bits in the photos when when it was talking about the history of the aircraft. Mr. Harry, we'll call him. Yes, Mr. Harry wanted the Me-262 to become like the BF-109 and the FW-190 before it. He wanted the Me-262 to also be able to be essentially a multi-role fighter, so a fighter bomber. And that is one of the reasons why which is ironic, really, that the Me-260 was delayed so much because Mr. Harry wanted a fighter bomber as well as the regular fighter, so it could essentially do multitask. But in the end, he was persuaded to let the aircraft go out as just a regular fighter as well, or as it was needed because, of course, Berlin was getting bombed every day at that point in time during the war, and you need a fighter aircraft, not a fighter bomber. Yes, fighter bombers are nice, but if you need an aircraft now and the fighter bomber variant isn't developed, then you just got to worry about niceties later, not to have things that you want, unfortunately. And this was one of Mr. Harry's wonder weapons, and pretty much it came into service officially because it was designed and before the outbreak of war, but they honestly believed that the prop aircraft would have been more than enough sufficient to be able to do what they wanted, but thank goodness it didn't happen. And I can still speak English today. And thank you to all the men and women who fought very, very hard to make sure that we got our freedom today. Fair enough, these were very, very, very deadly aircraft. One thing I can say is that when they were training the B-17 crews, they were actually, because they couldn't, they didn't really, essentially it was hard to be able to track the jets because they were so fast. They had to get the RAF to go up against them with the early loss to the Meteor so that they could get a gauge on how to get a bead on these aircraft because the Me-262 was so fast. But again, another thing which was on our side, as you could say, because Germany couldn't get the precious metals that she needed to build the engines properly, they wasn't lasting long enough. So a couple of thousand hours of flying time, and it needed another two engines, and the country wasn't going to last that long on doing that sort of thing. I can sort of see why the airmen, when they first seen it, get quite nervous, but then the shortcomings came out. People found that the airmen found the shortcomings, and in the end, and there was a trick that they also used to do. When they could outturn the Me-262s. Also, another thing that they did was, because he couldn't just, like a piston engine aircraft, just wump on all the power. You had to build up the speed gradually or slow down gradually. So essentially, the aircraft like the P-47 Thunderbolt or the beautiful Mark 9 Spitfire used to hover around and German airfields with Me-262s, and when they get them to take off, and when they went to go and intercept the P-47s or the Spitfires, or even the Typhoons, the Hawker Typhoons, and that essentially they take off, and because they had to build up the speed rather than just full power straight away, they were very, very vulnerable, and it just got destroyed. It's essentially like shooting fish in a barrel. I do feel sorry for them regarding that, as there's no chance. And Germany did have a lot of very. That was when, near the end of the war, was when Mr. Harry brought out a lot more wonder weapons, such as, of course, the Messerschmitt Me-262, the Messerschmitt 163 Comet, and a couple of other aircraft, which some obviously, one or two made it into service, others didn't. There's even the People's aircraft, Volksjager. Yes, I know that one. And where they made an aircraft made out of wood and glue with one of the Me-262's engines on the back. There will be probably a photo of that aircraft now. So right. Thank you, Me-262. You were a pleasure to build. Well, yes, I know you did, because Ravel, you didn't originally plan for someone to be able to put it onto a stand, so I was able to adapt. So, thank you, Me-262. Right. One more thing before. Excuse me. One more thing I will say before, or we reveal the next aircraft to be built, is, and I've actually been given full authorization now to say that I support them now, and it is the charity Models for Heroes. They are a charity that helps veterans through the art of model kits. It's so essentially, because you've got your mind on on building a kit, stuff just comes out. You see, it's stuff like people who suffer with PTSD and stuff like that. It's an aid to helping in those people, and they deserve as much help as they can get, simply because they're made it so that we got our freedom. And I'm an asthmatic, so I couldn't have joined the armed forces even if I wanted to. But I honour them via this way, so that I can feel a little bit of pride, because they do deserve all the help that they can get. And there's 3 ways, yes, 3 ways, is that you can support Models for Heroes. 1, of course, financially. 2, let's say, for example, you got a kit. You know you're not going to build it. or it's a duplicate and you bought from the mystery box set from Airfix, for example, or you know you're not going to build it. So rather than it go to waste, and it just sit there do nothing, you can send this kit off the Models for Heroes, and they can use it. Another thing that they do, which I honestly 100% approve of this. I do approve of it. Is of course, if you don't know about it already, Airfix have got their own model club, and on each Airfix kit there is flying arrows. As this one's got 1 arrow, is of course obviously the bigger ones have got more flying arrows, but I do got one, but I don't really want to get up. You can, as I was saying, if you had enough of these, if you're part of the club, you can redeem those tabs for a free model kit. Yes, a free model kit from Airfix. You can redeem it. Or what I do is, because I don't go off the manufacturer, so I could go to, if it's an aircraft that I like the look of and I never done something like that aircraft before, regardless of brand, I will go and give it a go. Oh, so I'm not stuck with Airfix. So I'm not a part of Airfix's club. So I personally, this is what I do. I'm currently collecting every single tab I get of these so that I can donate them to Models for Heroes, to be able to help someone who is in greater need. It is an amazing charity, and I thank them for allowing me to send the support to them all the way, 100%. So that's Models for Heroes, fellow Rangers. Right, fellow Rangers, yes, I am aware that not a lot of you do make it to this part of the video. So if you have made it, thank you very, very much. It is very much appreciated. I do take a lot of time and effort into all my videos. And if I bump into, like, let's say, a charity that's at an event where I am, I will make a point of also putting them in the description below, as well as, why not? It's not costing me nothing to do that and support them. So anyway, you're waiting for what aircraft is next. Yes, and it is a model kit company I haven't seen before, but it's the only company that I've found that does this kit. And after finishing the last build, the Westland Lynx, I looked into, of course, as when I was doing the history of the Lynx, I also did background before or the Lynx became in service, and Westland, and a rough quick look through Westland's aircraft that they built. They have built them, and this aircraft certainly came up. I've seen it on a television program called Classic British Aircraft years ago, and I've seen it in the Helicopter Museum. Sadly, there's not many left in the world, but no one had made a kit of this aircraft until I found this on eBay. It is, my fellow Rangers, the Westland Wasp. You may not think of it as a milestone aircraft, but the British Army had a variant of it. They had it was the Westland Scout, which this company also does. So you never know. You never know. I might get one of those as well. Oh, and of course, the Navy had the Wasp. It was a very, very fascinating aircraft. Used to be virtually most British naval ships, like frigates and destroyers, if they had a flat, essentially a landing pad on the back of them, it was one of these aircraft. 9 times out, virtually nearly all the time, that was on them ships, and they did serve in the Falklands War as well. Or from it, I will when I do come to doing the history of it, I'll leave links to even that clip, that video, because someone has very kindly uploaded it to YouTube. With that actual episode of Classic British Aircraft, which are narrated by Harry Enfield. He's not just known for comedy, he's known for looking out for British aircraft that people don't know about. And yes, you got your Hurricanes, you got your Spitfires, you got your P-51 Mustangs, you got, of course, the Me-262. But people don't look out for these little aircraft. Yes, they may not be as famous, but they deserve to be mentioned, as they are a milestone. So if you have enjoyed today's video, please put a like on the video, as it would be very much appreciated. Also, if you're new to the channel and you don't want to be missing out on the next kit build, for example, or the next car show video, or car meet, trains, aircraft, of course, then you definitely don't want to miss out. So subscribe today and hit the bell icon, as well as you don't want to be missing out on even though you're subscribed, you don't want to be missing out on notifications saying that what's the next video. So anyway, thank you very much, fellow Rangers. I hope you all take care, keep doing what you enjoy doing, and lastly, this is the Lone Ranger.